Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. I'm your host, Jay. Thank you for checking us out here on our YouTube channel, as well as finding us wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're there, please like, subscribe, rate, review, and go ahead and give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Meh, just give us 5 anyway and gift it. So, on today's special episode of Unfair Sports, being co-hosted by my guy Zak Noble from the Noble Roosh Show, hosted by Ball is Life, we're going to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves making a play-in and a crazy April for my guy Zak, MVP rankings, and where Zak believes one candidate will win over another, as well as giving you the predictions of all the playoff series from the Miami Heat all the way down to the last play-in team, which is now the Atlanta Hawks. We'll talk in depth about each series. Hit us up on the Unfair fan line, 430-901-1906, and answer our question of the week, as well as give us your strongest opinions. You might be thrown on the show as someone to talk to. So hit us up, 430-901-1906. So we got a special guest, friend of the show, my man Zak Noble with Noble Roosh over at Ball is Life. What's good, my man?
Life is good. Ready for the postseason. Got the whole baby process out, 9 months. Ready to battle the sleep patterns there and figure this new girl dad life out. So that's what's man. New, but
you had an eventful April. So your twins came. So you've got 2 baby girls ready for you. Your Kansas Jayhawks won the national championship. Congratulations on that. Right. And then the Timberwolves made the playoffs for the first time since, 2017? Man, how do you feel as a fan? I want to know your feeling as a fan of all of this stuff happening for you in April.
You know, it's crazy. So I'm 31 now, and I've never technically have had a title. I mean, the Minnesota Twins won in 89 and 91. I was born in 90. And I was at the World Series in 91. Obviously, I don't remember as a baby, but that doesn't count. So, I had season tickets all of KG years, and since then, I got rid of them and back again and back and forth. And now, Ann Edwards was kind of the lifesaver. The new injected all this belief and hope into us again, that he's our next Black Jesus, he likes to say. But I'm not ready to crown him that yet. I mean, I need more than one little play-in game from the kid, because I'm still not convinced that him and Cat are going to work. But I'm going to just embrace each game day by day. And, that's the great thing. I've come to realize it's like the only team in Minnesota I ever have really high expectations for is the Vikings. Mm-hmm. And yet they let me down year in and year out, of course. But, they've won a lot of football games, man. They just choke.
Always win a lot.
Yeah. No, we have won more than the Packers, literally of all time. I mean, we just can't win the big one. We've been to 4 or 5 of them, and
Jayhawks, it's something about them.
I'm going to be living that one forever.
Yes, I'm glad, and I'm happy for you because. So I'm 39. My favorite teams between Oklahoma and University of Tennessee in college football. So I've got a title in both of them in my lifetime. 97 for Tennessee, 2000 for Oklahoma. I'm a big Bucs fan in NFL, so my Buccaneers have won in 2002 and then in 2020. So I've got to feel that. I haven't felt it in the college basketball championship yet, so we'll get there. But it's cool to see how everything, like I said, this April has lined up for you. So speaking of your Wolves, I kind of want to dive into them first. They won that play-in game, which is awesome. And you made mention of Ant and Cat not really working. Or at least you don't see them working long-term. I kind of agree with you there. And I think it's more because Cat should be the number 1, and he seems to relinquish it. Is that kind of your reasoning as well, or do you feel like just their dynamics not going to work out long term?
So Cat's been the number 1 all year. I mean, there's no denying that. I mean, he's been a top 7 MVP guy in my estimation. I think I had him 7 or 8 in my final rankings. Mm-hmm. But he's not a top 10 player by any means yet, because you got to perform in the playoffs, and he hasn't proven that yet. He's a top 15 to 20 guy for sure, and again, that'll come into question if you play like that you did in the play-in game there. But like Ant, he could have taken such a bigger leap this year than he did. And a lot of people that didn't watch the Timberwolves night in, night out, they don't realize how big of a step back he takes for Cat. Like, Ant is such an unselfish dude, and he just cares about winning in the team, and he loves Cat, man. Like, he gives the city to him. He embraces it, and he's just such a respectful kid and just carefree. But he wants it. You can tell he wants that limelight, and when he has a chance to take it like he did the other night, he's going to grab it and just go. And that's why we're lucky to have him in D'Lo, because D'Lo flies under the radar too. I think he's as underrated as it gets, and he's been the closer for the team all year. But Ant and Cat just can't play great together. Like, they both can't have their banger nights consistently. Like, it's either one or the other. And they can be okay together. They can make each other kind of better, but it's like you're not going to see 30 out of both of them very often, because we're not a team that shares the ball very well yet. I mean, there's still too much ISO play, and it's just Cat's scoring has really came towards the hole now. He doesn't shoot 7 or 8 threes anymore, and that's where it creates more possession. So it's different, but it works, and it's just such an efficient offense because he is scoring so much down low, and he's had so much success there. But I just don't see the long-term outlook yet until I see playoff success, because it is, even from the beginning of the year, like, I predicted 45 wins. I predicted the 7 seed. I'm one of few in the minority. Go back and listen to my preseason show. Many don't believe me, but I nailed it, and it's just solely because I thought this was the minimum leap Ant would take. He took the minimum leap. He definitely has so much more. Like, his bright spots, his 49-point game, and he had a couple 40 burgers, but it's just, he could have had 50. No, I mean, he could have had those nights, and he's that good. He would have been an all-star this year in a different spot and different role, but he cares about defense. He cares about making other people around him better and happy. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ant we see going forward, what Carl we see going forward, because it's not consistent.
Yeah, I like how you point that out. The one thing a lot of people that watch sports, or more so look at the stat sheet, I mean, numbers-wise, Ant, of course, made an improvement. But you're right. Overall, game-wise, he could have done more, because you can tell he is the number one in that team. I think that's the problem I've always had with Karl-Anthony Towns. As good of a player as he is, and it feels like it's no different with him than it was with Kevin Love there. They can put up all kinds of stats and numbers, but they don't really affect the outcome of the game. And it feels like Ant does change the outcome of games. D'Lo, whenever he's going, he changes the outcome of the games. Cat at that size, shooting an average of 5-6 threes a game, just doesn't feel sustainable with those two guys. Now, it may open the middle a little bit more for Ant to drive, but do you really want Ant on the ground all the time? It feels like that's a recipe for an injured dude over the next few years. Kind of like John Morant, Dwayne Wade, Allen Iverson, Russell Westbrook. You get beat up like that at a certain point, you're going to fall apart. It's going to just take away from the greatness that you could really be.
Yeah, I'd like it a little more, though. I mean, I'd like it a little more. I mean, he's only averaging 4 free throw attempts a game, and that's
that is low.
Same he had. Yeah, it's the exact same he had last year too. So, and he'll learn with the tricks of the trade and a little flopping here and there. But I mean, those are ethical free throws, and God, I won't forget that whoever said ethical the other day. That's
absurd.
Was epic.
It's absurd. I mean, I want that from him. I want him at the line. I want him getting fouled.
That's the next level.
Yeah.
The next level.
I love that dude. Because you know what's funny about him? Coming into the draft, the biggest concern that was talked about, and I kind of had too, is that it didn't seem like he really cared. He's just like, if I really want to, I can go play corner for the, Georgia Bulldogs and go to the NFL. I'd be good. But it wasn't more so that he didn't care about basketball. It was more of a, no, I'm good. I'm an athlete. I can play any sport, and he's kind of showing us that. And I I love that about him. Like, I'm loving the idea of him and Ja Morant going back and forth. I'm excited about somebody getting dunked on and somebody dunking on the next person, and it's going back and forth. I'm curious to what Cat's going to do against Steven Adams, because every time I see him, I see the picture of DeMarcus Cousins standing there while he's trying to back him up in the post, and he's just like...
That's it, though, and that's honestly where the Timberwolves have got to where they've gone, because he's been able to do that same photo against smaller guys. And yes, he's gotten better footwork. He's gotten smarter when to attack and when to pass, but it's still, the decision making still not up to B+ even, or A- where we'd love it to be. And that, I mean, that's the big difference between him and Jokic. I mean, you could argue Cat's a slightly better defender. You can argue Jokic. I mean, it's close there, but they both have their times. I mean, I'd say Jokic's floor on defense is always higher, but Cat's ceiling can be higher than his with his athleticism. And
I agree.
It's just his frustration and dumb fouls that will never change, I don't think. So I'd prefer his passing and playmaking abilities that to keep growing and changing. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm cool with Cat for another year for now, but this playoffs is huge. I give everybody a pass their first playoffs. So he had his pass already.
Agreed.
This is it.
And so do you think Cat can get better, or do you feel like he's hit that point where he's kind of at his ceiling? Because I feel like he's at the Kevin Love level for me, to where he's good, but he's going to need two other guys that's better than him to even go anywhere. Is that fair? Do you feel like that's fair?
No, it is very fair, but I just think Cat, I mean, he's not, passing ability, sure. Cat's more dominant down low. That's for sure. But he still isn't as smart as Kevin Love. That's also a fact. So it's not a terrible comparison, and the big difference between Cat and Kevin Love is he's got Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell and Patrick Beverley. This team is so talented, yet they don't fit together. That's why I did have 45. Like, they don't fit because, look at Pat Beverley's our best defender, and he's 6'1", 6'2", and Jared Vanderbilt's 6'8" out there, and he's skinny and can get beat up by the guys that Cat needs to defend. And they're not able to play much together because Cat's not going to hit him in the dunker spot, and Vanderbilt can't spread out the floor when Cat wants to bang down low. So then it clogs up shit down low.
It gets clogged up, right? Yeah, get clogged. Well, y'all just added Greg Monroe, so, hopefully that does something. Hopefully revives his career.
There's the footwork we needed.
Exactly. All right, let's jump into some of these playoffs, man. It's been an interesting season. I found out that Luka's going to be out. Looks like game 1, potentially game 2 as well in that Utah series. I was hoping he'd play, knock off Utah, even though because Utah ruined my preseason prediction. I thought they would care about the regular season more, as Utah is a regular season team, and they have not shown any care whatsoever as they have dropped down to the 5th seed. I had them top 2, but who as far as the first round matchups you got besides Minnesota, Memphis, I know that's your favorite because that's my favorite too. What other matchups so far in the East or West do you like going into the playoffs?
For me, I mean, my favorite one, to be honest, I mean, everybody's talking about Philly, Toronto. I'm going to love them all, to be honest, besides Utah, Dallas without Luka. That's the only one that's not appealing to me. But honestly, Boston, Brooklyn, that's my favorite. That's the one I got my eyes all over, and I think it's a 50-50 like Vegas is almost making it out to be, and that I just can't wait because I think they can score with anybody. I think they can outscore anybody, but this defense in Brooklyn right now and the Ben Simmons scenario, and it's the contradicting reports out there of when he's going to play and when he's not, that's just so mind-blowing. It's like he could play game 1 or he could never play this year.
That's the crazy part.
I truly believe it.
That's the crazy part, is that's exactly the play. He could either play game 1 or we won't see him for a full season, which I'm guessing that Brooklyn recognized that, no, your back is messed up. We're not going to risk you playing because that's an investment. They got the money on their books. if you hurt the man more, of course, it's a worse option for you, and you definitely don't want to deal with losing him. I'm with you. Besides this Minnesota-Memphis series, Brooklyn and Boston is my favorite. What's your thoughts? I listened to the episode with Grant Williams that you all had. Tennessee guy, so of course I was amped hearing that interview,
Awesome
and I love a lot of his talking points. What's your feelings on Boston's, I guess you could say, the big 180 they made? Because they started the season off, we were all questioning the coach. Like, bro, was this a good hire? And now they migrated themselves all the way up into a 2 seed. Even more impressive. What's your thoughts on Boston and Brooklyn going into this series? I guess you could say top for top since it's 50-50.
Yeah, so Udoka, I mean, I was going to give him a lot of slack this year. I really was, because he still didn't have a true point guard in my estimation. I thought that was the big question mark. So it's really hard to have success in this league and have that high expectations if you don't got a true point guard. But Marcus Smart turned out to be the guy that everybody thought he was. Not everybody. I mean, he was a combo guard coming out through and through. I thought he was going to be coming out of college. He's finally proven me right that he can be that more lead point guard and the guy that brings the ball up the court more often than not. But he just knows when to get rid of it at the right time and go set a screen when needed. But what these two teams, I mean, Boston's defense is so good. And I'm not worried about Robert Williams right away, but I will be. I mean, if the hole is glaring, as soon as that hole is glaring, I will be worried. But I think Horford and Tice, with their experience, can hold it down. Grant Williams, I'm not too worried because their defense has been so great this year, and it is one guy, even though it's arguably the second most important player on their defense, and some say should be up for Defensive Player of the Year. I still believe in Horford and Tice that much. Especially against, I mean, Nick Claxton. Kyrie hasn't been driving very much. He has not been attacking the rim. He's pulling up like crazy, and that's Brooklyn's problem too, the ISO game. They're not sharing the ball like they need to. So they're not getting all the best shots. There's a lot of contended shots, and that's going to be even tighter in the playoffs, you know? That defense will be much tighter, and those shots are even more contested than they are. So
no, you're right.
I still have Boston winning that in probably 7. But if somebody came to me and said they wanted to bet or something, I'd take Brooklyn just for fun.
yeah, that would be just a fun bet. I feel like Brooklyn, I think the glaring hole with Joe Harris being gone is going to actually show itself throughout this series, because at a certain point, the human body has its limits, and playing Kevin Durant 40-plus minutes every single game with Kyrie, and like you said, the ISO ball. I can't remember what star player said this. This was a while back, but he mentioned that when you have a team full of stars, the coach really doesn't coach much. He more so just manages your minutes at that point, because the stars are going to go out there and do their thing. And, of course, we know in a 7-game series. Huh?
And Nash has been terrible at that.
Exactly. Nash has been awful at managing this portion, and I think that's going to be the thing that's going to cost them. If you try to push these guys to play that many minutes when Boston's kind of deep as far as that goes, it's gonna struggle. And you're right, Marcus Smart, I love his confidence. I love how confident he is that he will shoot a 3 that you know damn well he should not shoot, but he'll shoot it, and guess what? In the clutch, he makes it. Non-clutch, he will brick it, but it don't matter because he makes it when it needs to be made, and I love that about his game, especially defensively. So do you see the Kyrie Kevin Durant dynamic showing some problems in the stretch, especially when we get close to the game 6 and 7? I'm assuming so, since you're picking Boston to win in 7.
No, honestly, I'm just more worried about the rest of them and the defense. I mean, if KD got back to his elite defense consistently like he was in Golden State, I think he can be enough for that defense. I mean, Andre Drummond can be good. Bruce Brown's been great. And then I'd say plug and play Ben Simmons, just don't have him bring the ball up the court. I mean, his defense should be able to be ready, you know? And I think he's got to, like, the reports of he was practicing by himself in gyms out in the boondocks of Pennsylvania. Like, the dude should be ready. I think he's been holding out more so for the money than the back. Yes, I know that could be controversial, but I think he's proven to be out longer than not, so he should be able to recoup that money if he did play a game now. But I don't know the stipulations and the legal framework behind that either, so nor am I his doctor, so I'm not going to make strong proclamations on that, but that's my read on it. I think Seth Curry, is going to be great in the playoffs. He usually is. Patty Mills has been the big question mark lately of that team, and so for me, it comes down to defense. How good can Brooklyn's defense be? Because Jason Tatum, man, he's a top 5 guy right now. He's playing like it, and he's been great in the playoffs most years. Jaylen Brown's, he's that dude as well. So I think these guys, I think Brooklyn. I think Boston can win it all. I really do, if they can get past Brooklyn. If they don't, obviously they don't. But I truly think they can give Milwaukee a run for their money. I'm picking Milwaukee, but it's closer to 50-50 than not.
Got you there. All right, let's jump into your MVP power rankings. This has been a big topic of discussion. A lot of debate has been going into this over the last couple of weeks, especially with the emergence of Joel Embiid, him averaging 30 points a game, first time since Shaq did it back in early 2000s. You've got Jokic as the number 1 with Embiid 2, Giannis 3. Surprisingly, you gave Devin Booker 4. I am with that. And then Luka at the 5th spot. Why? What about Jokic tells you that he should win it over Embiid?
Yeah, for me, there's literally no argument for Embiid outside of, if you're going by best player, you have an argument there because of defense. If you're going by wins, sure, but that's a lie. It's a lie because Jokic has played in more wins. He's played in 46, and Embiid's played in 45. So you can say that the team has won more, and it's only 3 more games. And so that contradicts that argument. And every argument you want to bring up, advanced stats, basic stats, counting stats, Jokic is right there. He's got an argument for every single thing, and unless you want to give it to the best player and you think Embiid's the best player, that's your best argument for Embiid. I'm an Embiid guy. I went to KU, obviously, and I'd love to hand him the award, but I try to be as unbiased as possible, and Joker's the guy here for me.
I'm with you on that. I think the biggest argument people have had for Embiid is because he leads the league in points, and I always make this argument with everyone around the MVP. It's less about just raw numbers unless your team is also dominant, but it's more about the holistic part of your game. Like Jokic, for example, win shares 15.2. He's at the highest. Just about every advanced metric he wins, and people try to blame the analytics world and say, oh, the only reason why he's up there is because he makes the analytics nerd all hard and excited. But he's done a lot with so little. They may have moved down 1 spot, but he's down his 2 guys, his 2 main guys. That's a big deal. And then with Embiid, I think that Embiid should get it if they were the number 1 seed. They couldn't muster the number 1 seed as a team. Like you said, he's only played in 46 wins out of the 51. That, to me, hurt him, even though he did something not really historic, but something that hasn't been done in a long time, being a big man averaging 30 a game. I get that. That's the only argument I've ever had for him, but his team should have been a higher seed at that point output. Then we could have had that conversation about him winning it. So I'm in the Jokic camp as well.
Cool.
He is the team.
Boston and Milwaukee weren't great most of the year. They really weren't. So, if you were truly this dominant, and Embiid started slow too. Jokic was dominant from the jump. It's a year award. Literally everything that contradicts it. And for me, I've really focused on the word valuable year after year. And there's very few players that make guys as good as Jokic does. And say what you want. Maybe you can argue the depth a little bit in Denver, but I think the argument for supporting cast is more about the coach than the players. And if you take off Jokic, I think that team is maybe the worst in the league. I truly believe that. Like, you take Jokic off this team, and Aaron Gordon's probably going to be the leading scorer around 16, 17. His points aren't going up much more than they are now. Maybe Monty Morris gets to 16, 17. Yeah, and you take Embiid off this team, Tobias Harris gets better. I mean, stat-wise. I'm not saying player-wise. Tobias Harris gets better. Maxey gets better. Harden would definitely get better, but all of these guys, their stats would go up because they're better players. They're way better players. And like literally Maxey is a borderline top 35 guy in my estimation. Maybe top 40, but you look at Aaron Gordon, their second best player, might not make my top 80.
And that's the thing. If you look at who's on there, and I mean, I guess the argument with Embiid is that Ben Simmons didn't play the entire year, but
Maxey emerged, man. He's that matters a little bit, but
it does.
Jamal Murray, no Michael Porter Jr. That contradicts the Ben Simmons thing.
That's true, because it's really only been Ben that's been gone for him. So overall, they should have been able to be a lot better. So that makes sense. All right, let's do this. I love to play these little games on this. I want your early predictions for these series. Even though you can change them later, we're not going to hold you to them. I'm not that guy. I am the guy that's going to say, you can switch it up as you get more information later. That's why we take a pensive approach around here. So let's start off. Utah, Dallas. Luka, of course, is in question. Who you got in that series?
So this is me projecting Luka to be there for sure game 2, and I think there might be a miracle he shows up game 1. Nobody's ruled him out yet, right? None of the big dogs have. So, and the line's only 5, so Vegas is still considering that as well. There's no way that line is 5 points if Luke is not playing, right?
That's true. I mean, does Spencer Dinwiddie really move the needle like that?
No, never.
Right, that's my point.
This Jazz team can still show up, and when they can put the BS behind him, I believe in Quinn Snyder that much. But as of right now, I'm going to say Jazz in 6. I mean, if Luka comes game 2, because I don't think he's going to be 100% by any means. But if Luka doesn't show up, Jazz in 4 for sure.
All right. Minnesota and Memphis.
Gosh, you're going right to it. So
go right to it.
I really need to know what Ja Morant's playing too. These are the 2 series where injuries actually really impact this. Ben Simmons isn't going to fluctuate that a ton in my estimation, but Ja Morant, I think he's going to be decent. I mean, at least minimum. He's playing. So I'm going to pretend he's 100% here. I'm going to pretend he's 100%. I will say Grizzlies in 6. I'm going to say Grizzlies in 6, even though I think Wolves can win this. I'm going to give Timberwolves a 30% chance at winning it.
Okay. That's a fair number. That's
where
actually
are you
fair.
At? Give me a percentage.
So, Utah, Dallas, I'll start with that one. I'm big on the same thing with you. If that number's 5, they still feel like Luka's going to play. I see he's in jeopardy, but I feel like that's more of a strategy by the Mavericks to try to get Utah to not really pay attention. Plus, Utah still has Rudy Gobert. Sure. Like, once you start hunting him, you're going to win. You're probably going to win. And I ain't seen Donovan Mitchell play defense for the most part his entire career. He's a volume shooter. He's a volume scorer. We love them until we hate them. At a certain point, we're going to stop liking the dude because he's going to shoot too much, and we're going to have there's going to be complaints as a fan base. So I still think Dallas should pull that out.
He's been unreal. Mitchell's been unreal in the playoffs.
He has. I'm going to go Dallas if Luka's healthy. I think that they are at this point where they need to get it done. I saw the silly, I guess you can call it a silly stat, where Donovan Mitchell hasn't thrown the ball to Rudy Gobert in the post like all season or something like that.
That wasn't silly. That was effed up.
Yeah, dude.
That was hilarious. That was effed up, and and then Quinn Snyder defending that, that was a mind blowing stat. One of the the guy that leads the team in usage, the second or first most valuable player by a lot of people's opinions. Yeah, I don't know how that's even possible.
Right, exactly. So if Luka's healthy, I'm going Dallas. If he's not, if he misses 2 games, Utah in 5. I don't think Dallas has anybody that's going to be able to help them get through that round. Memphis, Minnesota. Man, I kind of like y'all. I like Minnesota to kind of take it in 6. Only because, because Memphis is good without Ja. They are. But I feel like, and I don't really like Patrick Beverley that much. Like, he's one of the players I hate, but I respect because I actually understand his hustle and grind. I like that he's a hustler and he works his ass off every game. His antics usually wear me out. It's like, bro, it's kind of like, it's almost like Chris Paul and the punch in the nuts he likes to do. It's just like, come on, man, you didn't have to do that. So, but
if
I think
he's not on your team, you hate him.
Exactly. But I think because of his veteran leadership and being in the playoffs just about every year of his career, gonna rub off on the young, especially Ant. I think it'll rub off on Ant and D'Lo at least, and that should hopefully propel them past. Because I think those 3, with even with Cat, got a little bit more, I guess, scoring power than I think Memphis does if Ja is not 100%. So that's why I give it to you guys. All right. Next one.
I will take it.
Next one. This, of course, can change. It looks like Paul George is not going to play tonight because he's in the health and safety protocol. This is being recorded on a Friday, released on Saturday. Phoenix is probably going to play against the Pelicans in the first round. Who you got?
Yeah. That is really unfortunate for Paul George because he's really looking almost 100%, and we haven't had anybody ruled out for health and safety protocols, or any of the big dogs at least, for a long time. Yeah, so it's just terrible break for him and them, and it'd be good karma if they won. But I love what CJ's doing, and I love New Orleans. They're so fun to watch right now just because, they're hustlers too. And they're just playing so well together as a team. And Willie Green as a coach, you can just tell he wants it so bad each game. And, I like this team. But don't like him enough to do anything in Phoenix. I think Phoenix is 100% healthy. I'm not too worried about any concerns there. I think they're the team I got in the finals. It's just how respectful do I want to be towards New Orleans? I'm gonna go 5. I'll give New Orleans 1 game, which is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna 10+ point them almost every game. I just think the moment will be way too big for even Brandon Ingram. I think CJ is gonna need to almost average 35 a game to win one. I'm not thinking they're gonna get more than 1. I'll go with 1.
Okay. Now, no disrespect to the Clippers, any Clippers fans that's watching and listening to this. No true disrespect at all, but Clippers have done really good without Paul George and all their stars this season. It's the reason why they're in the playoffs. They've had neither him or Kawhi most of the year, so there's a chance they can end up beating the Pelicans without Paul George. But I just feel like we're at the end of the year, and it's we're wrapping things up, and I think New Orleans has a better opportunity. So, irregardless of the 2, I got Suns in 4. I think it's going to be a sweep. And it's no shade to any of them, but right now, Phoenix is a well-oiled machine. They're playing like they know. Everybody knows their place. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. I love Monty Williams and the way that he always runs a team, period. He's always been this way. This should be an easy, cut, dry scenario for them walking into this game, period. It should be.
No, this is, a piece of cake, I think. I don't think it should be any worries at all. It should
exactly.
be
so
easy breezy, as good as a 1-8 should get.
Yeah, it should be easy breezy. Exactly. All right, Denver, Golden State. This one to me is going to be interesting because Steph Curry is out. Jokic is hurt. He's day to day with the wrist situation. What you thinking about this series?
How do we know how long Steph is for sure out?
They haven't given a full update. I think they're hoping that he will be back within this series. So yeah, there hasn't been anything definitive about when he could. He's probable for game 1.
They absolutely need him. Yeah, I see probable too. Checked a couple places, but as long as Steph Curry plays and as long as he's 90%, I'm going to go Warriors in 5 or 6. I'll say 6. But if Steph is any less than 90%, I'm going to say it goes 7. But, I mean, I think Warriors win this series pretty easily as long as Steph is above 85%.
Yep, same. And it looks like he's definitely going to be on a minutes restriction when he comes in. My assumption is they're just being precautious for a long-term run, either this year or hell next season. They may be thinking, look, I don't know how healthy everybody on the team is. Probably won't get to the 100% we want to be. We may just try to at least make the second round and then pull back because still got to pay for that Chase Center because that bad boy was expensive. So, all right, let's go over
to Murray, man. He was supposed to be back March 20th. For the longest time, that was the date, and it just keeps getting pushed back. It's not looking good for any return there. Yeah, Porter Jr. is for sure out, that looks like. So, yeah, I mean, Jokic would have to be attacking down low the entire game. Draymond, Kuminga is going to be on him quite a bit. I just think he could really, really feast. And as long as they find shooting, which it's hard to do in Denver consistently, I just don't see how they win the series unless Jokic is averaging almost 35-40, right?
Yeah. Jokic is going to have to go into overdrive. I mean, right now he's 27, 13, and like almost 10. He's doing absurd borderline triple-double seasons as usual. But, yeah, he's going to have to average more than – he's going to have to average dang near 40, and I don't think he can do it.
Yeah, his best playoff series, he averaged 33. I don't even know if that gets it done, to be honest.
Not in this series. I think that
he's only been over 27 one time.
Even with the diet version of Klay Thompson, I don't think that's enough. Even with his injury woes.
Game by game.
Yes, exactly. He's getting back in that groove. I mean, it's been 2 years, so good to see him back up there. All right, East Coast. Let's go to the East. Let's look at this for Toronto-Philly series. I think this is going to be a critical one. What's your thoughts on it? Who's winning it?
Yeah, I think Tybal could really matter, and we'll know pretty quickly. To be honest, I think people are way too focused on the wrong things with this series, and I hate them just going after Embiid and Harden like this and not giving them the credit they deserve because both are underrated in the postseason, very underrated. But I just think they're going to be still enough and too much, and I'm not sure what Fred VanVleet's going to be. That's a concern for me. I'm going to say for sure 6, but I think Philly could win this in 5. 6 is my pick. I do think Philly could win in 5. I really like Philly in the series. I do. It's just, like I said from the beginning, Matisse will be known right away if that perimeter defense isn't tight because he is so important for this team. And like in the next round, I don't really believe in Philly unless Danny Green continues to keep getting better and look as good as he has, because Danny Green's been amazing lately. He's the reason why I'm not too worried about Thybulle going forward here. But yeah, that's the big question mark for me. It's not Harden's consistency. It's not Embiid right now. I'm most worried about Matisse missing time in Toronto.
Ooh. No, you're right on that one. I'm I'm leaning Philly in 6. I think Toronto's going to find a way to get a couple of W's out of it, and they're gonna fight. That if anything, with Nick Nurse as your head coach, you're gonna fight. He's gonna get them in the right positions to at least be successful in a couple of games. But as we know, when the playoffs hit, things tighten up. People play a little bit differently. If James Harden can stay healthy and his usage stays down, the biggest issues for all of James Harden's downfall in the playoffs is that he's always a tank year round. I mean, he's a big dude. 2,
yep.
He always plays every game, and he battles. He dukes it out. So he uses his body for everything. And the one thing people don't want to admit or try to understand thoroughly is that there is limits to the human body. So at a certain point, you're gonna fall apart. At a certain point, your body's gonna get tired, no matter how hard you work. That's where all them bad shots come from. He loses his knees, etc., so on and so forth. So if they can keep his usage down, I think Harden will be a different animal in these playoffs going forward because he knows this ain't his team. This is Joel Embiid's team.
No, and he doesn't want it to be his team. He doesn't want it to be, and he didn't want it to be in Brooklyn. Right. He didn't want it to be in Brooklyn either, and I don't fault James Harden. He's been honest from the beginning. He came to help make everyone better. He wants to be the better version of Chris Paul, or he wants to be Chris Paul, which he is. He is, and that's the problem with the James Harden conversation, and I get so sick of it, is people are comparing him to what he was in Houston, that form of James Harden, but you talk about evolving over time. Yes, his shot's just inconsistent right now, and a part of that is because he's trying to figure out this point guard role in this team, and it's hard when you haven't played with these guys that long, and not sure when his shots are coming, and he's too focused on making other people better around him. He is, but the shot's got to fall. But at the end of the day, Rajon Rondo was very valuable in the playoffs. Chris Paul is very valuable in the playoffs. You got to be able to still get to the free throw line. You got to go for that mid-range shot. And that's been James Harden's fault anytime he's had woes in the playoffs, which they're not as big as people make them out to be. I will always stand firm on that. That's for another day. But it's because he shoots way too many threes and doesn't go in for the mid-range. And that I blamed a lot of Mike D'Antoni for that.
That was a system.
For that
it was a running gun system.
Yeah.
Exactly. Running gun system.
I mean, it could be too programmed in Harden's mind to still be that smart and change at this point in time. So, yeah, I mean, he's saying these don't mean as much, but he's saying winning only matters. And, it matters. You're still young. Well, these are huge for you. The thing is, he can't get any worse. He can't get any worse all time. He's a top 25 player all time. But in order to go up, James, if you want to catch that Dwayne Wade guy in front of you, if you want to be in that conversation, you got to get to a finals.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing with him. We got to remember, too, is that James Harden's 32 years old. He's played 942 games in his 12 seasons. He's played a lot of basketball. And that's not including playoffs. That's just the regular season number. You throw playoffs in there, he's played a lot. And it's all because he's a tank. He takes bodies. He bodies up with everyone. He lives at the free throw line. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 8 years in a row, shooting at least 10 free throws a game. Like we mentioned about Ant. Ant's going to get to the point where he's going to get to the line and get better at it, but that's all James Harden does is find ways to the line. And then he's doing that in the paint. It's still, as much as we want to call a flop, they're still getting hit. There's still punches and body shots. You know what I'm saying? So James is getting older, and I think we're at the tail end of his peak. Let's put it like that. He's past his peak. He's on the downslide. He'll probably fall apart by 35. I hate to say it, but that's 15 years in the league. How many players do you know that have played 15 years and been good besides what LeBron's doing today? And he's been falling apart the last 4 years.
And you've said it perfectly. It's his usage. I mean, nobody's had usage numbers like him as long as he has. Like, that's historical. Those numbers are insanely high, and that's a big part of, like, if you look at champions, the best players that have been champions, Jordan and LeBron, their usage was down. I mean, that's a part of why. I mean, but I argue that he had to do that too.
Yep.
With the talent he had. Outside of last year in Brooklyn, I will stand pat that he's never had the talent to win it all. But we'll save that for another day.
Yeah. We'll dive into that one a little bit, especially coming in the offseason or close to the finals. So, Chicago, Milwaukee. I'm fascinated by this series. I'm also disappointed that we're not going to get the series we deserve due to all the injuries that's on the Chicago side. What do you like out of that one?
So, Chicago, Milwaukee. Got to just plug this bad boy in. Whew, almost lost you. We good? Yeah, nice.
Oh, yeah.
All
Caught it.
Yeah, that would have been shitty if you'd just fallen off. But Chicago, Milwaukee, I would have liked this a lot more about 2 months ago. It's unfortunate where we are at with Chicago right now. Don't think Pat Williams is really even going to be the guy that they need him to be at this point in time. I think their defense is all out of sorts, as it was predicted from the beginning of the year, even though the personnel is getting back and healthier. I mean, it would need to just turn on some sort of switch they hadn't had in months, and just need to be a miracle. I got Bucks in 5, but, man, it's sad because they were so fun for a while there. Bucks are my champion. They really are. But, yeah. Gosh,
Noted.
I loved what DeMar's done this year, Zach LaVine. And if they get bounced and just freaking rocked, I think there could be some issues this offseason with Zach LaVine. I'd be shocked if he left, but I think that's one of the bigger narratives. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and I don't know. A lot of people think San Antonio is out there. It's just, with as good of DeMar's been, this is your first like really good team you've ever been on. Why would you want to leave this just yet? I mean, wait till you got young players too that are still getting better, and like Io and Patrick Williams, like the bones are there. If those guys keep improving, they have something here that can constantly get better. If Zach LaVine believes he's that good. So I think there's implications in this series, possibly. That's what trying to divvy up some sort of narrative here. But yeah, it could be very boring and a lot of blowouts. It could look a lot like New Orleans, Phoenix.
Agreed. I've got this one as a sweep. As much as I love Chicago and everything they were this year, without Ball, Caruso looks like he might play, but he's close to 100%. But it looks like he's ruled out for the first game. If we get no Caruso, of course, no Ball, I don't see the team just doing enough to stop this juggernaut that Milwaukee is starting to build themselves to be. I'm fascinated by you calling them their champion. We'll talk about that at the end, but I'm calling Milwaukee to sweep that bad boy, and we'll just make it easy work. So last one in the easy. Well, we got 2 more in the East, but actually, Brooklyn, Boston. You've already basically called that one. You've got Boston in 7. I think Boston in probably 6. My only question is how healthy will Durant and Kyrie be throughout the series? That's been the issue last year. That was my call last year. I said they were going to be eliminated second round, specifically because of injuries. I post a video often just because I laugh at it. And exactly as I expected, Harden got hurt, KD got hurt, Kyrie got hurt, and they're on the downswing of their peaks, and it's all health related right now. It's all nursing home injuries. Fall and hurt your hip and you're done. You trip at the house on the step and you broke your kneecap. It feels like those are the type of injuries that kind of silly keeps hitting them. So I'm calling that. But this Miami one. Miami looks like they're going to have between Atlanta and Cleveland first. Who do you think is going to win, Atlanta or Cleveland?
So last quick thought on Boston, Brooklyn is, yes, injuries can come into play where Marcus Smart's suffocating defense gets Kyrie to struggle from the perimeter. So he's got to go back to driving to the hole, which he hasn't been doing lately. So He's going to the hole with not much confidence, and something bad could happen there, and it's question marks. So that's a real possibility. I'm not ruling that out. And Katie's going to probably have to try a lot of stuff that he hasn't been doing when things go the wrong way. And things can easily. That series is really touchy because it really just relies on two guys there so much. For Miami, okay, I've said this all year. I have put fraud alert out on Miami, and it sucks because they're so deep. They're so well coached. I think I could get proven wrong really easily, and I could look like a clown here. But I think they can lose this round. I really do. I do. I don't think they're going to. I'm not picking them by any means. But I just think Miami, man, they're the same injury concerns as Brooklyn. And I'm not guaranteeing Tyler Hero's going to keep this up. I'm not guaranteeing Jimmy Butler's going to do anything this play, because he was bad last year in the playoffs. He was really bad. And he was great in the bubble. Bubble Jimmy was fantastic. But, man, last year left a mark on me. And I don't know. They're going to rely a lot on Jimmy Butler. You know, he's going to try to be that dude. And it depends. I mean, how much ISO he goes into. If his usage is closer to 27%, 28% versus the 33, I think it will be 32-ish, it's going to be bad. But I'm going to say Miami here in I'll go 6. Yeah, Miami in 6.
Okay, that's not bad. So, and I totally get the Miami suffrage last year in the playoffs, but I have a theory behind all of that, and it goes back to everything I say all the time. There's limits to the human body. I always kind of remind everybody that from the bubble to that next season, there was borderline no break. That was a month and a half. Yeah. They went straight into the draft a month later. Training camp was 3 weeks later, and then the season started. So it was that, just like with the Lakers and how bad they were last year going into the playoffs, injuries and dealing with that. I felt like Miami's problem was they were just tired. The deeper the team got into the bubble playoff, the quicker they got eliminated. That's why you saw Atlanta in the playoffs in New York, even though New York showed us the next year that they did not deserve it. Some of these teams got that because, like Phoenix did not. They played in the bubble, but they did not make the playoffs. The next year, best team in the league. Why? They was rested. Same thing with Chicago. Right. You know, all of that hit to me, and I think that's what hit for Miami. And this is why I say that. I think Miami eliminates Milwaukee this time around. I think Miami is a better team. I think Miami is back to the bubble type setup with more players with Kyle Lowry. I think they knock Milwaukee off if they see each other in the Eastern Conference Finals. Again, it'll be one of those, has Miami be able to beat Milwaukee? I think Bam Adebayo still is the cheat code for Giannis. It was just, they played forever. And then, of course, you got to remember, in that bubble playoffs, Jimmy Butler was the only player because everybody was hurt. You had Dragic down. Yep. It was just him. So that he just, there was not enough tread on the wheels going into next season. He put his feet up, was able to get actual rest. Now we're here for a full season. I like Miami to sweep this one as well. I try to be really nice and respectful to teams, but at the same time, Atlanta or Cleveland, not as good as Cleveland was all season, their youth showed themselves at the end of the year. They showed the regression. If
Cleveland wins this, man, I'll be shocked. If Cleveland wins tonight, I'm going to be shocked.
Same.
Trae Young.
Trae got it.
Until I'm putting the Noble stamp down on this one. Until Trae proves me wrong. He's been so damn good in the playoffs. He's a guy that's performed night in, night out when it matters. And the team's getting healthier. The team's getting better. No John Collins is huge, but I just think those guys having nothing to lose coming in as the 7 seed, like I said, it won't shock me if Atlanta pulls it off. It just depends. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu, which that's a lot to put on their shoulders for sure. But especially going against dogs. I mean, Miami is just a bunch of dogs.
Exactly. I think losing Lou Will, John Collins, and Bogdanovich, I think those three were critical in the veteran presence, especially Lou Will and Bogdanovich going into the playoffs. Not having them, I think that's the thing that will cost them in the series, but they'll win this game because Cleveland is just too young. Youth shows itself, hence why most stars don't like playing with the youngins. So, okay. That is all of them. So, your champion is Milwaukee right now.
Over Phoenix, yep.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be a repeat of last year's finals.
It is, yeah. I think the only way it's not is if Golden State gets their groove back together, and which they could easily. I mean, it's a long playoffs after the round one series, but you think Denver's going to be easy? No. I mean, they're not rolling over, especially with the MVP there. And Bones Highland, I think, is going to have a big playoffs. I think he's just one of those guys that are getting better with time, and the lights are coming on. I think it's his time, and I think Denver's got dogs. I really do. So I think it's going to be a tough battle. They're going to fight, but I need to see 3-4 games of Golden State being fantastic again before I pick them. Phoenix is just, like you said, a well-oiled machine there that's well-rounded and put together as it gets. So it's going to be really, really tough to take them down.
I'm with you. I am on the Phoenix versus Miami train right now. I'm just going to go chalk, mainly because it's been a weird season, and it's so hard to really pick just one team to win. Milwaukee, I thought they were going to be the 1 seed. They didn't end up doing it. It's been weird. We don't know what the health is going to look like going into it. Looks like health and safety protocols is now starting to check into the game, and because that check-in is happening, we don't know who's going to be taken out because of it. So I'm gonna stick chalk for the first round, and we'll see what happens later. And that, folks, is Zak Noble. Check him out. Ball is live. The podcast, Noble and Roosh. They've been doing some great interviews. The Bobby Marks one. Awesome stuff, man. Thanks for joining me, my man.
Yeah, it's always great to see you and talk with you. Man, I like the Miami pick. I think they'd be a fun champion. I think they would rough up Phoenix, and it would be an absolute dogfest. I mean, you got Markieff Morris, you got P.J. Tucker, Kyle Lowry, and Butler. They're swinging for the fences. So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely a team I'd love to see win it, and the things it would do for Jimmy Butler and Bam's legacy. Yeah, I'm all about the legacy come playoff time, and those guys are two that would take a huge boost. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think the East is pretty open right now. I really think there's 4 or 5 teams that could come out of it pretty easily. I do think there's only 2 in the West. If I'm proven otherwise, that would be one hell of a ride.
Yeah, it's true. So your West is Phoenix and Golden State, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah, you might as well not even show up.
I'm with you. I appreciate you joining, my man. You have a good evening. Once again, thank you so much for checking us out here on Unfair Sports. Thank you, Zak Noble, for co-hosting with me this week on the show, talking all NBA. Please check us out. We'll have more videos here on the YouTube channel. We're talking more college football, especially through the spring and spring games, as well as the NBA playoffs. So, for Mike, Bob, and Wendy, thank you so much for doing what you do best and making the magic happen on the back end side. Have another show coming out on Monday, as well as the question of the week. We'll use that one for next weekend's episode. Please hit us up. Check us out on our Instagram account at unfair_sports, as well as Twitter at unfairsports. That's where you'll find the clips as well as the video for the question of the week. So with that, we'll chop it up with y'all in a few days. Peace.